Hey, welcome to Unit 9. We're looking at reading labels, syringes, medicine cups, and IV bags right now in this chapter. With labels, they're fairly basic. You just read the label and get any information that you can out of it. If the information is not shown, especially in this textbook, go ahead and just write not shown. It's okay if the label's missing some information. You can only go by what is there, and so you don't want to mark any guesses that aren't there. Medicine cups, they're pretty easy to read. Usually there's a side for teaspoons, a side for ounces or milliliters, and you just have to figure out by looking at it what it is. Syringes are a little bit trickier. There's many different types of syringes. Most syringes are in milliliters, and so they'll look like this, where you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you need to be able to determine the scale. Well, again, this here is 1 and 2/10, 4/10, 6, 8. So think of it as 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. But with a decimal point. And it's critical that you understand what the scale is, and they don't all have a scale like that. There are some very small syringes that might have, it might be a 1 milliliter syringe. So this would only be 1/10 of a milliliter. And then it'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2/10 of a milliliter, and so on. And so it's really critical to understand how the decimal system works so you can understand this scale. One way to think of it is if you can picture it with a 0 here, then it becomes really easy. This first point right here would be 11 hundredths of a milliliter. Now, that would make the halfway between 1/10 and 2/10, that would make it 15 hundredths. And this would go on all the way up to 1 milliliter. That's a very small syringe, but they do use them for some medications. So it's just critical to understand what scale is being used on the syringe and read it thusly. Okay, I bring this to IV bags. IV bags are a little bit trickier. Your book does a fair job of demonstrating it. Just so you know, IV bags come in different sizes. There's 100 milliliters, there's 250, there's 500, and there's 1,000 milliliter IV bags. So one of the most important things to do is determine what size IV bag you're using. And then the other aspect of the IV bag is to be able to understand the scale that it is using. This here is typically a 1,000 milliliter IV bag. So if it's reading like that, and let's say there's this much of the drip left, okay, there's two things that they want to know. First of all, how much has already been infused? And that's easy to read. You've already infused, if this is 1,000, that makes this 600 milliliters has already been infused. And so to determine how much is left to be infused, what you do is you take the size of the bag and quite simply subtract off how much has already been infused. And that'll tell you the amount remaining. And it doesn't matter what size of IV bag you use. You just start with whatever size it is, and then you subtract the amount that's already been infused. And that'll tell you the remaining. That still needs to be infused. Okay, and then that's it for chapter 9. Remember, feel free to use the book while you're doing your assignment. Plenty of good information in there. Okay, and we'll see you next week.